Carbines versus PDWs. Now, I'm going to be starting a new series of weapon comparisons, but I thought I'd address this more sort of overall issue before delving into weapons specifically, because ever since Battlefield 4 has been released, I think this has been rather a topic that a lot of people have been talking about, and I'm not really sure why the decision was made, but I've got some opinions on it, and I want to know what your opinions are as well, so let's get into it. Okay, let's start off with the carbines. Now, in Battlefield 3, the carbine weapons were specific to the engineer class. Now, they had some really good weapons in there, as they do in Battlefield 4. But overall, I thought in Battlefield 3 that the carbines made the engineer class the most balanced class overall. Ultimately, their role is to go around and repair things. Obviously, you're going to need a weapon in between because there are going to be enemies that are around you. Now, I've said this before in a couple of other videos, but a lot of times you'll find engineers will specifically be sitting in vehicles a lot of the time, and a lot of players will choose to be the engineer so that if their vehicle gets damaged, they can get out and they can repair their vehicle. It just makes good sense for you to do that, and in maps on Battlefield 3, of course the carbines were really good because they had fairly good long-range accuracy. Now if you're on maps that are quite wide open and things like that, you're going to need to defend yourself from time to time when you're repairing your tank or you're repairing someone else's tank. So if you've got a weapon that can reach that far and is fairly accurate at those ranges, it's going to help you out a lot. With weapons like the ACWR and the AK-74U, that was easy in Battlefield 3. They had really good long-range accuracy, fairly good rates of fire and damage models, and you were able to defend yourself and hold your own, and that's why I think it was perhaps the most balanced class, because they weren't brilliant at long range, but you're not going to be shooting at people miles and miles away with those kind of weapons. You're going to be looking in your area, your vicinity, wanting to know what's going on, making sure that obviously you are going to be able to defend yourself or other teammates around you. Moving across to Battlefield 4, the carbines were switched to the all-kit weapons, which basically means any of the classes in Battlefield 4 can use the carbines. Now, I think overall, the carbines are the best weapon class in Battlefield 4, simply because they're the most balanced, like they were in Battlefield 3. But moving them to the all-class setup, that means moving the PDWs across to the engineer class in Battlefield 4. Now, we know that the PDWs in Battlefield 3 weren't the most amazing set of weapons at all, and in Battlefield 4 they're not the most amazing set of weapons either. There are a few gems in there that you can pick out and use to your advantage in those situations, but ultimately, I don't really know why the decision was made to move the carbines away from a class where they were so balanced and worked so well. Now, speaking of the PDW specifically and in general at the moment, most of them are built for close quarters combat, which seems a bit counterproductive to the class they're actually assigned to, which is the engineer class. As I mentioned before, you're most likely going to find engineers in sort of medium to long range combat, specifically medium. Most of the time you're going to be around vehicles, a little bit further away from enemies that are trying to shoot at you with, I don't know, explosives, other weapons that they're trying to get you while you're repairing vehicles. You need to be able to combat that. But I just don't feel you can with the PDWs. I know you can make them work, and there are certain ones that do more damage, that have got better bullet velocity than others, but generally speaking, the PDWs are meant for close range combat, and that doesn't fit with the engineer class in Battlefield 4, for me at least anyway. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining or anything, because I'm not. I can adapt to using the PDWs. As you can see in the second half of this video, I've been using the UMP at sort of medium to long range, and it seems to work fairly well. I just don't really understand why they've been assigned to a class that needs to work really well at medium to long range when the PDWs aren't really designed to do that. Just seems a bit nonsensical why that decision has actually been made. But in terms of which class of weapons is actually better, the carbines or the PDWs, that's really up for debate here, and it really depends on your playstyle. If you're playing the engineer class and you choose to take a PDW over a carbine, I think you're most likely going to be wanting to play a more stealthy role, at least in my opinion, because the weapons are simply there to be there. So you have a weapon. It's not so that they're there to be effective in all ranges and everything that you need it to do. I think it's more there so that it can be a weapon in case any situation comes along where you might have to shoot at somebody. You've got a weapon to try and defend yourself. It's not going to work well at all ranges and in all situations, but at least you've got a weapon to try and at least kill the enemy that's standing in front of you. If you take a Carbine, I think you're going to play a little bit more of an aggressive role, something that we're more familiar to from Battlefield 3. The way that you're supposed to play the Engineer class, i.e. going round, killing people at medium to long ranges, using your explosives to take out buildings and vehicles, defending your own vehicle, repairing them, things like that. Ultimately, I think you're playing the Engineer class how it should be played. In a more aggressive role, you're actually taking the fight to the enemy and not just sitting in a vehicle waiting for somebody to come along. So overall for me, the Carbines win, because ultimately I like playing a little bit more of an aggressive role. I like taking the fight to the enemy team rather than sitting back and waiting for them to come to me, so it just seems to make more sense for me to take a Carbine if I'm playing the Engineer role. And overall, if I'm playing support as well, I'll tend to take a Carbine simply because I don't really like the LMGs in Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4, to be perfectly honest. It's just not really my kind of weapon that I like to use. I'm more like the fast-firing, fully automatic, assault rifle and carbine kind of weapons. It just sort of suits my playstyle more than the LMGs do. Now, you guys might totally disagree with me, and that's fine, because that's what I wanted to know about this video. I wanted to know your opinions on the switchover of the Carbines and PDWs for the Engineer class. And what's your preferred playstyle? What do you prefer playing with, the Carbines or the PDWs? What's your opinion on the PDWs? Do you think that they're too low powered and they don't do enough in terms of getting the Engineer class to be as best as it can? Or do you feel that taking a Carbine is just much easier? You need to let me know in the comments, because I'd really like to know your opinions on this one. Just a couple of quick things that I wanted to mention before I end the video today. A lot of people have been asking me in the comment sections and on Twitter when I'm going to be releasing my second DayZ episode. I'm working on it, guys. It's just taken me a little bit longer to find the footage that I want to put in the episode. The first one you guys said was really good, but you wanted it to be a bit longer, so I'm working on around a sort of a 20 to 30 minute video for you guys, so it is taking a little bit longer for me to get footage that I think is action-packed enough or entertaining enough for me to put in that video. So I am working on it, and I'll bring it to you as soon as I can. And secondly, a lot of you guys have been asking for an updated setup video. Now, I'm going to do that for you guys. I'm just waiting for my new monitor to be delivered, and that's pretty much my setup completed. So once that's been sort of delivered and I've installed it, I'll get around to making that setup video, and I promise it will actually have more proper footage in it than the last one did. I just didn't actually have a camera that was able to record. So this time it will definitely have some real life footage of my PC and the components inside it, which is what you guys wanted to see. So I'll bring you that as soon as I can as well. But that is the end of the video now, guys, so I hope you have enjoyed it. If you did, please hit like on this video, and as I've said, comments are always appreciated. Let me know what you think of the Carbine versus PDW situation. But until next time, my name is Westy, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.